Now, in Khan's kingdom of ULEZ and 20-mile-an-hour zone, London has been blessed with a new honour. Yes, it's the slowest city in the world. A research team studied 387 cities all across the globe, and joining me now to make sense of this is former Top Gear presenter Steve Berry. Steve, good to see you. Luckily for you, you haven't had to make your way in here and cross London at the speed of a snail, which is basically what the average speed of London now is. You know, people say the 20-mile-an-hour zone has caused it. I don't think it's just the 20-mile-an-hour zone. It's the fact that there's so little room now because cars have been squashed and concertinaed in to smaller and smaller spaces to make way for bus lanes and cycle lanes and all the rest of it, that you just can't even, at any point, get above about 9 miles an hour.
Mike, I didn't have to cross London. I lived in London for a good few years. I worked in the same building as you for a while. But I now live in Manchester, where we have a motorway, a road that's officially designated as a motorway, with a permanent 30-mile-an-hour limit, the Mancunian way.
No,
a motorway with a 30-mile-an-hour limit. You couldn't make it up. But if people think the road space is being used inefficiently, there are too many cars parked on the roads, get them off the roads and get them onto car parks. And what's with all this stuff in the road and these lines and these boxes? Why not make better use of the road space? It's almost if they're trying to stop others off from driving. Well, guess what? They are. That's exactly what they're doing.
They really are, because they don't like motorists, even though motorists are the biggest cash cow now, I think, in the entire country. You know, you pay through the nose for your petrol. You pay an incredible amount of fuel tax on that. You pay a road tax every single time you have to renew that every year. You pay for driving in some parts of the country in the city. I mean, they haven't quite got a congestion charge in Manchester, but I think Andy Burnham's trying to get one. There is one in Birmingham. There is one in Glasgow. There is one in London. They're in Bath, Bristol, other places. You know, the motorist is basically a cash cow for local government. Sadiq Khan's making something like £200 to £300 million a year off the ULEZ charge. They would be very, very poor without us.
Mike, the government's... I've been doing some research recently for a book I'm writing about 100 years of motorcycling. And I've had to go back and read a lot of newspapers and magazines from the early days of motoring. Governments always had a complicated relationship with the owner of a motor vehicle, because as you just very well pointed out, it's an excellent way of taxing people. They tax the fuel, they tax it when you buy the car, they tax it when you service the car, they charge you road tax, and the taxes that they collect from motorists are a huge part of what the Treasury collects each year. And for them, it's incredibly handy. I mean, people think the government and all governments are in love with electric cars. They're not. They're not, because the current system of petrol and diesel is one of the best ways of collecting tax that's ever been devised. You can't avoid it. It's not like you can go and get some hooky petrol off a bloke in the pub that's just fallen off the back of a wagon. It's been, for many decades, a great way for governments to collect tax. But when I've asked them about the states of the roads, and the states of the roads here in Manchester are just beyond a joke. Remember when you used to go on foreign holidays? You'd go to Greece or you'd go to Tunisia or somewhere like that, and you'd come back and people would say, oh, what was it like? And you say, oh, it's great, sunshine, hot. Oh, the roads are terrible, though. we hired a car, you know, all that sort of stuff. We're like that now. People come to Britain, I tell you this is true, people come to Britain and go home saying, Britain's great, but the roads are a nightmare.
No, listen, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I used to go... My parents used to take us to Italy as kids, and we used to drive all the way to Italy and go camping in a place called Lido di Jesolo, right? And, you know, you'd come back from places like Italy going, God, blimey, I'm glad that we don't live there because it's lovely, but it's completely chaotic. You know, nothing works. You've got a queue for everything. Nobody knows what they're doing. You know, Britain has now become the Italy of the sort of last century because nothing works here. I'll tell you a little story. I got a bus lane ticket this week, right, for something that I did over the Christmas period. I was driving behind a bus on a road which only just recently, and I know the road, it's just recently been redeveloped, right? And so what they do is they've apparently, I couldn't tell because I was just driving behind a bus. The road splits at some point and there's a barrier between where I should have gone and where the bus lane is. So I assumed that was the opposite side of the road. So I just stayed behind the bus. And now I've got to pay 65 quid for the privilege of not knowing.
I got one for entering one of those yellow boxes with the hatched lines.
Oh, yeah.
Which you aren't supposed to enter unless your exit is clear.
Yes.
Now, as I was following 2 buses side by side, double-decker buses, quite how I'm able to see past them from the driving seat of my Jag, I have absolutely no bloody idea. So what do they want me to do? Stop at green lights, wait until the bus has got 150, both buses have got 150 yards down the road, and then I can see. No, I found out how much that particular box earns, and it's an archway in North London as you're leaving the city, and it's the highest earning one of those boxes in the country. And again, it's been a great way. The motorist, saying it again, the motorist is an awesome source of revenue for the Treasury. And when they go on about they don't want us to use our car as much, they want more bus use and more integrated travel and all that sort of stuff. When you actually talk to them, they will admit that they do wonder where they're going to get the billions, not millions, the billions of pounds that they collect from motorists.
Exactly right. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare, and the speed that we can now travel at is ludicrous and ridiculous. Steve Berry, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.